marching against apartheid, while Canadian youths protest. Free Mandela on the chest. Now my people, let's all join the struggle. Show your solidarity. From the US to Caribbean people, Africans must know apartheid must go, or we never will be free. Shaka, shaka, tell them if they lash we brother. Tell them that they hitting all away. Shaka, shaka, when they make we children suffer. Tell them, they'll answer to all away. For we are family, one blood, one soul, to see our people free. One task, one goal. Shaka, shaka, tell them if they touch Mandela. Tell them, they better hit all away. Ulaba uchaba mande. Ulaba uchaba mande. Ulaba uchaba mande. Shaka, let your spirit flow through the veins of Soweto. Let your unifying hand cradle every Bantu man. Tell Tacha and Bota, stop the fooling. Tell them judgment day is near. Tell them they can't stop the tables turning. Let them know it's real. They will have to feel if they do not want to hear. Shaka, shaka, tell them if they lash we brother. Tell them that they hitting all away.
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are streaming on the World Wide Web at this time, wherever, as part of the diaspora, or indeed, any, of course, individual in the world viewing this program or consistently view it because of the interest that they may have developed or acquired, I say to you a pleasant good day. Yes, indeed, it is, of course, the Corridor Transformation, the nightly edition, except for Fridays, I must confess. But the fact of the matter is that we continue, of course, to treat with the issue. I played that particular piece by Bali, mainly, of course, to make people understand that we are all in this boat together. And, of course, in the present context, we have to qualify by saying the sinking ship. Not yet sunk, but of course, we have an election coming up, and therefore, in such circumstance, I'm sure we'll be able, of course, to resurface, to refloat, and of course, take it safely to port. Take that ship safely to port. That is what this is all about. And therefore, of course, as I promised last night, well, let me say once again, first and foremost, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central. Once again, our friends in Tobago, and of course, wherever you are streaming on the World Wide Web. I promised last night that we will go straight into, of course, that situation with respect to the the EBC, and the fact that that is a deep concern, having regard to the almost irretrievable, or should I say, heinous threat to our democracy, the electoral process. Having regard, they don't have a clean or spotless or immaculate reputation. Let's not waste time. Nobody could tell me that I mustn't say that. I mustn't say that when they will have to explain to me why did the court in 2015 say that the EBC had no authority to extend the voting time by 1 hour, even though, of course, they continue to say that there was no major impediment to the voting process. But the rules are the rules. And therefore, any decision like that, unfortunately by the court, leave itself open and the situation open, not to speculate, but to say that if the rules were infringed, then the whole process would also be tainted. And so, yes, there's a valid school of thought, and you can't vex with them for that. And the judiciary could say what they want. They could say that they would have, of course, unearthed evidence, on the one hand, to say that EBC had no authority to extend the time by 1 hour. But at the same time, how can they justify that the process was not tainted or in any way infringed or in any way compromised? No, cannot be. And then, of course, you have evidence, whether it's hearsay or otherwise, of the role of Dr. Rowley and the PNM in that whole process. And I want to tell you, because when I read my request for information to EBC on the specific matters, you will get to realize where I'm coming from with respect to that first infringement recognized by the court, and of course pursued by the what I consider to be not just loyal but patriotic opposition today, consequential of the results of the 2015 general elections, and having, of course, placed those petition hearings to manifest itself in the way that it proceeded, and then, of course, concluded. There are many questions to ask still. If the process was wrong, if the EBC had no authority to extend the time by 1 hour, because that is the domain of the president, and the president gave no such instructions, no such mandate, no such what I consider to be dictum, and the EBC took it upon itself to do so, can it not be said that if the seed is poison, or if the tree is poison, the fruit that it bears is also poison? I leave that there, because we have an election in 2025. And all of these must be not just ventilated. You see, because Dr. Rowley is on record, not just once, and as late as the last local government elections, claiming that Trinidad and Tobago, I don't know if it is because of and of course the courts would have subjected the population to that kind of ambiguity, but certainly they are not, like people like me, will not be ambivalent, will not accept that and remain complacent. No. You still have not resolved the fundamental question that if the EBC was wrong, why weren't there punishment for the EBC? It cannot just be that you say that they were wrong, full stop, and then no penalty. And one of the penalties I would respectfully advance is that, if not all, but certainly those that would have shown a healthy, or put another way, not so healthy victory in the 5 constituencies that were brought for judicial scrutiny, consequential of the electoral petitions filed in the courts by Kamala Prasad Bisasa, the UNC, at least those that, even though the margin of victory might have been relatively, but I consider to be sound, but because of the proximity between defeat and victory, you at least should have had 1 or 2 of those constituencies annulled in terms of the election, and a re-election, ask for fresh elections, in other words. That would have satisfied, I think, people like myself. But the fact that you can say that the EBC infringed that fundamental, unauthorized, ultra vires, no authority in law or otherwise, and they ad hominemly, because they feel so, they did it whimsically. There must be some kind of penalty. And the penalty, ultimately, as the UNC would have preferred, at least the calling of fresh elections in at least those constituencies of the 5 that appear to be, while they may not appear to be as close as one would logically like, but certainly close enough, because of the penalty that must be imposed, because you don't know what the alternative is. It could be that the PNM and the EBC might have been in cahoots. They might have been in bed with each other. You never could tell. And because you do not know whether that is so or not, because you cannot tell me that you accept that they weren't in bed when Dr. Rowley himself made an intervention as far as the chairman of the EBC is concerned. So as the court, you must have some disquiet, and you must find a balance. And the balance I would have expected is that at least 1 or 2 of the seats that were in question, you annul the elections and order fresh elections. So even to today, nearly 10 years later, the question of what the EBC did and what the court did is still a matter for persons like myself who have a serious appreciation for the rule of law, the separation of powers, and indeed an electoral process that is free and fair and free from fear, F-E-A-R in this case, and F-A-I-R in the first case. Fair meaning that it's supposed to be equitable, it's supposed to be reasonable, everybody should have a reasonable chance of winning, because the platform that was laid is one that does not favor one group or the other in that contest. Because mind you, every single candidate, whether they are independent, small party, or big party, as the case may be, they had to pay the $5,000 to get their candidate inside of the elections. So to say that because one is big or one is small is irrelevant. Everybody have to pay $5,000, yes, to be able to contest the elections in Trinidad and Tobago on the national scale or on the constituency, at the constituency level. But let's go straight to the line, and let's of course look at an early call one time. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yes, Lennox. Good night.
Good
I'm
night to
listening
you.
to you. on the issue with the election, the
Yes.
EBC and the courts and all of that.
Yes.
And what you say, yes, is a good idea where they could have had a re-election, right?
Yes.
So I want you to follow me.
Yeah, following you.
It's
Yes.
a good thing you say, but you ain't getting that here in Trinidad in our local courts. And if they had taken that to the Privy Council, where's the judgment? The same thing you see. Or
Yeah.
maybe not.
No, it
But
would
I
have been.
didn't
The,
take
the
the
problem here, Miss Arima, is that you can't go with elections matters. You can't go to the Privy Council. That is it. Our final court is the appeal court here. Yeah, for that. Yeah. That's the rule. Yes. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks for educating me on that. You
Yes.
can't know everything.
Yes, of course.
Right?
Yes.
But as you know, and I know, and they know, the day is the UNC, the opposition. They know that it have the OAS. These days I stick on that, you know.
No problem. No problem. No problem.
I stick on that. That is the power we have. And they could have gone there and they could have been in power all now. Right? But they never go there and still they ain't going for nothing at all. I listened to Wade Mark the other day in the parliament on a law where they have to bring in our constitution. Again, another international law. That is with the revenue bill. And he was telling them that the time they give the opposition to study this bill, because he said it have a lot of clause in it, that they need to study it, and that they only give them 40 hours, which was too little bit of time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
But they're hustling all right? They're hustling that bam, bam, bam. Who talking in the parliament? They sent out some of them out of the parliament. I can't remember how much. But I get vexed one time. Right? I don't know if they came back in, but I doubt they had allowed them to come back in or they just walk off. Right? I can't remember. But after he Wade Mark, right, had filed a motion and it had to have a voting. And you know how the voting went. The government gets you.
Yeah, of course. It's the
But
majority.
in his contribution, in Wade Mark's contribution, speech, he said that they're breaking the law, right? And he's going to ask question at the U.S. Embassy. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? Who will listen to Wade Mark here, how we talking? He talked to them and say he's going to take it to the embassy here in Trinidad. He's going to go there for information, he's going to complain. But I wonder, because as far as I could see, with all the set of talking and talking, that is the opposition, is a set of bluffing, is a set of promise to the fools who they always comfort the sycophants. You understand? I getting fed up because I know a good bit of our rights. I listened to Faris Alwari today too, talking about the procurement bill. He's saying that the UNC didn't do anything and they take long. They didn't do anything. But then all they in power are talking the two of them bad because the government failed and the opposition failed. Because when they do these things, they're protecting them. All they in power, the UNC didn't do anything to bring that law in our constitution. Another OAS law. And when all you bring it, all you break our democracy, and all you had, or you pass the bill with a simple majority. I'm talking right, Lennox?
No, yes, you're talking what the experience has been. Yes, I agree with you.
But Lennox, I was there in COVID time protesting with this thing. I went twice. I'm talking the truth?
Yes, of course.
Right. So all they're getting beat up in the parliament. Because why these people breaking the democracy? These people is lawbreakers right through. And we have rights as citizens in this country, right? Under the OAS Charter, the OAS law, because they for democracy. And all they are reporting these people. Why they doing that? All these years we getting punished. I hear her talking at funeral today, promising the family for this child that take his life, the teenager, that she will do all in her power and so. But listen, everybody in this country getting bullied, you know, my dear lady. It have who getting raped. It have who getting robbed. Who getting beat up. And who getting killed. They extorting people. Why they don't report this man? And why they don't report this government? We not supposed to be going through this. It's time she do that. Huh? This talking about this thing with the children yesterday about the interfering with these children, with these pedophiles.
Abuse and pedophilism, yes.
Yeah, all of that. Use your power and open on these people. It's time to open. If blows you have to give them, they give them blows. The next one in the parliament today, Heinz talking about somebody in the UNC set up to kill somebody. Even if it's true or lie, it blows the pelting. You have power to throw blows. So if you're a mother and you care about all the citizens in this country, use your power. Have a good night, Lennox.
Yeah, same to you, my friend. Same to you, my friend. And I will not cast or reach the point of casting any aspersion as to the lack or the deficiency in action, because I am satisfied that the opposition is very strategic. What is unfolding today, I think about 3 or 4 months ago, in persons were saying that Kamala is weak, she is not going to, of course, respond to the marooning, and of course what is described as aggression being the best form of defense for this government. They are very aggressive. They even though in the general context of trying to defend the indefensible, but they use body language and they use selective words to try to intimidate and to frighten. It is clear from what Kamala Prasad Bisesa delivered in the parliament last Friday and what she did yesterday as a follow-up demonstrates that the UNC is ready, of course, to go toe-to-toe with the PNM. And while, of course, she did not go into the gutter, as we saw yesterday in her press conference, she didn't mention panty and drawers and all them kind of what I consider to be licentious and perverted individuals' expression, which of course Rowley is a total and absolute predator, sexual and otherwise. That's where I'm going, yes. And a political kobo. Yes, indeed. And the putrid, the stinking, watery feces that comes from his mouth does not leave much, and of course leaves a lot to desire, but does not leave much in terms of relegating him as a person and character to not just the dustbin, but to the stench of a cesspool. Yes, that is where he should be as a prime minister. And we have been saying that for a very long time. It's not by accident. I keep saying for over 3 years, and when the opportunity presents itself, as it is tonight, to say the man is a blasted rapist and a pedophile. And what would you expect when dishonorable people go into honorable office? The only outcome you can have is what is being perpetrated there. Notice that he put that there in the face of a meeting that is to talk about the budget, you know. To talk about the budget. And he brings up those extraneous, otious, morally depraved, and believing that somehow he is enticing and motivating the audience and in the national community. As I say to all of them, hold on your tail. If you feel that the majority of the population would lap up the nonsense and the putrid and the acid and the barbaric and utterly depraved and insensitive gutter that they represent, cacophonous babblings of people who clearly have lost their way and never deserve to be in office if they could display that kind of behavior. So I'm very, very clear in my mind as to the descriptions that these people have attracted to themselves. I did not make up the words to describe them, but they generated the action to describe them by virtue of the lexicon availability, meaning that what is available in the dictionary. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
A pleasant good night to you, Mr. Lennox.
Pleasant good night to you
and
as well.
all the listeners
Yes.
on all this platform. Let's be charitable and share.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much for reminding me. I always omitted to say that. So share, people. Tell a friend, tell an enemy. Eventually, of course, we'll get back to where we were, because I noticed that every night is about 1,000 persons, and of course we counting as the viewers are increasing. But thank you very much. Go ahead, Mr. Faizabad, and thank you for that. Should I say very nice little plot that you are putting there, or plug.
So Mr. Lennox, I told you, I am the technical engineer of the public, on the listening public. And I will direct my program in the direction it ought to be in. And the thing is behind the scenes.
Yes.
So when we have supporters like that, and I wish all and sundries will come on board and make their input to make this show across the nation and the world, to see that Keith Christopher Rowley, the leader of the PNM, the People's National Movement, that the history tonight, right? We have to go back a little bit in history to explain the way of the Elections and Boundary Commission. But I will say in my opening statement, we need foreign observers and people and listeners and callers who are listening and calling it. Let your voice be heard, and let's rally around our esteemed political leader, Ms. Kamla Prasad-Bissessar, and give her the support in echoing our voices that we want foreign observers from the Carter Foundation to come in this country to observe our general election. Because Mr. Lennox, now, in 1953, Bharat Maharaj had the opposition at heart. And when Eric Williams get to realize that the East Indians are more powerful and his party formed the PNM, he get to realize he tried 2 tricks and he didn't succeed. And then he revert to where the mass corruption, what we know as Stephen today, in the PNM. Now, if you follow me a little bit and correct me while we go along. Now, the story with Badis Maharaj, Sagat Maharaj, and Eric William, remember I say he tried 2 tricks.
Yes.
Now, his second trick was with Chura Buzz Butler, comrade Chura Buzz Butler, because he got to realize that the African diaspora was more holding on to comrade Butler. So you see where Badis Maharaj, Sagat Maharaj, with Kapil Dev and Rienzi, Kola Rienzi and them fellas and them, they were with the East Indian diaspora, and the majority of Africans were with Chura Buzz Butler. And Eric William was in the middle. So he started off by inducement. And in that inducement, the East Indian in those days came out on top, as we will say. And the workers, the oil field workers, from since 1970, coming forward, when Chura Buzz Butler and the union were fighting against the expatriates for better wage and conditions for the citizens and the workers of the oil field, Eric Williams started to go against labor. And look at it. Now, if we're coming up the road and they want to know where I get in with it, Badis now, with the East Indian, he was always selling out. Like in modern times here, with the 5 dissident. Right?
Yes.
Where we just call it Rambali, Charles, and the other rest and Parian,
Yes,
right?
yes. Anita Haynes.
Yeah.
Yes, and of course, Russian Parry.
And Dr.
Yeah,
right? No.
Yes, from the Manzanilla parliamentary
Seat.
representative. Yes, yes.
Yeah. So everything the opposition in those days did to fight Eric William, they put down the opposition then to give the way to the PNM. And they fight the workers with Butler by suffering them, by not giving them anything, which is tangible, meaning that reward of salary and wages. And then we come to this modern time now. Here you see that similarity in it, because Eric William bring the voting machine, he bring all sort of things. He bring the Caribbean people and put them in Lavantil, Mova, down in the St. Anne's, and he split up the East-West corridor in 4 and 5 seats just because over the Caroni Bridge, he didn't stand a chance.
Yes.
See what Rowley is doing. He mash up labor. He ain't for labor again. And they try to mash up the UNC again by using internal people to say they want leadership. But I wonder, these 5 persons who so stand on principle, after the reply of our esteemed political leader, Ms. Kamla Prasad Bissessa, in that parliament, I wonder them 5 of them who they're really going to serve now. Because they can't say they were serving the best interest of the people and siding with the PNM. Yeah? And democracy at work. Yeah. And it's not in we party.
Right.
Hmm?
Right. I hear you.
So you see why it is now. This mission you're on, we can't take chances with it. Because the track record show, while we talking about the opposition in Badis time and ULF and DLC, Eric William was learning how to put voters and build house on the East-West corridor to put more them to win it. Eh? So it's the same thing here now. The EBC is pushing the boundaries and doing things just like what they do in Tobago. The evidence is there. And we, the people, don't matter what side or who we like, who don't have on a brassiere, who don't have on a panty, right? And what color you put on, me like it. We have to stop watching the underwears and start thinking about our future, because the EBC is the prime target right now, because the evidence is here. And we have the history to show what the role and function. And in no time, it's more critical after the Tobago House of Assembly election, because it run it through Parliament, blah, 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 and they do it. So which means they're talking about bringing a machine and a program for election. So people, let me stand up with Mr. LENNOX and know what we are about this time, and come out when the day call, and let me tell each other, we'll meet on that beautiful show in front of the EBC. Good night, Mr. LENNOX.
Thank you very much for that, of course, historical, what I consider to be precise, historically precise presentation tonight. But I just wanted to invite the audience, and maybe when you call in, you are invited to call now, 337-6940. Maybe we can look at it futuristically, beyond, of course, the 2025 elections, but having regard, of course, to the population, let's say, shifts, or the population dynamics that is taking place in this country. It is clear that the East-West corridor has been absolutely saturated. It means, therefore, the production of an additional constituency, or carving out of an additional constituency, it will be very challenging, if not impossible, for the EBC. And of course, if we have concluded that based on all of the antecedent, based on all the history, that there is a propensity, a proclivity, a tendency of the EBC to, of course, gravitate to the dictates or do things in such a way so as to benefit the PNM, and then one has to look at the fact that all of the available lands for housing, etc., and therefore the population shift must now be going in open spaces or spaces that are now available for housing development. The likelihood that the PNM in some time in the future, not too distant, will never see a government in a very, very long time, if at all, again, is real. Because you will have to create new constituencies south of the Caroni Bridge. You have to. That is the place that has the space availability, and the population shift and the population concentration are there. Just look at Shogunas, for example. And then when you look further afield, you see that there's wide open spaces that people would have to go. Population is increasing, and people will have to, of course, settle there in terms of housing accommodation, and therefore their addresses will now be south of the Caroni. So I am not perturbed as to the future in terms of once the PNM continues, of course, to exploit and to try to gain unfair advantage by influencing the operatives in the EBC so as to gerrymander, so as to avoid creating new constituencies south of the Caroni. Yes, because that is what it's all about. They are doing their best. What they are doing, however, with what is there, they are gerrymandering, they are moving, of course, polling divisions and putting it in other areas and so on, so as to generate, of course, an advantage for the PNM, as we saw, of course, in the 2020 elections when they did that, and Gypsy thought that he would have had an advantage and it was a clean sweep. It turned out that the people themselves say, no, we recognize what you are doing just as Tobago, and they therefore decided, well, listen, PNM will never would stand a chance to win, of course, the Moruga tableland, and so happened. In fact, the PNM was reduced by one in spite of the victory that they would have had. Very hollow and very shallow. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Yes, Lennox, it's me
Yes,
again.
go ahead.
Lennox,
Hey.
you talked before I was coming to that part with the districts in Caroni and the southern part of the
that was
country.
right. They have to go there. They must create more constituencies.
Watch me. Those areas, some of them could split in 3, some in 2, right? When you look at the north and you look at the south, it ain't fair. It is not fair, right? How could you say that it's fair? I mean you know, but
I know, generally
the
speaking,
EBC,
EBC, etc. Yes, and those who
it ain't fair.
really have a
So
sense
all
of
these things,
nationhood.
right? All these things, if we talk about all these things, the position we're in here with the unfairness, because the OS is for free and fair, and that is not fair. So all of that, they could dictate the place inside of here with that to talk to them to do something about it. Because if he could add on another district in Tobago, why he can't do that here? So we need to complain. Again, we need to complain. There's a person on the chat tell me that, you know, the OAS is a toothless bulldog. No. They don't solve problems. And I want to tell them too, they're saying that why they can't move the Venezuelan president out of power. They can't move him. They're no longer in the OAS. So they don't have that kind of power to do that, but they could have voting with countries who decide, you know, we for the Nicolas Maduro regime and so on. That's what they could do, and ask for more pressure internationally, international pressure from other organizations like the United Nations, which is what they're doing, and they're going to get through, right? So people mustn't just say things like that for people here to get that kind of feeling that nothing can be done. They do a lot. And Rowley is not as strong as Maduro. He's weak. So the first pressure they put on him, right, he will get straight. Like how Harari say in the parliament today, if they don't change the laws and do what this organization say, it have penalties. Or they must listen and understand when these politicians talking, it does have penalties, right? So don't ever say that they can't do anything.
Great.
Okay, Lennox.
Yes, thank you very much. And you know, while she was speaking there, I had to comment in the closing part of the program last night about the role of our apex court in the Privy Council, because she was of the view that they didn't bound to PNM, or the government didn't bound to do what the Privy Council said. And of course, I was very strident, and it is nice to know that people can adjust and adapt, and of course, with reason and with, of course, the application of your God-given rationality, you are able, of course, to come to a conclusion. She is correct. Whilst, of course, the OAS may not be able to put troops on the ground, while the OAS may not have nuclear weapons at their disposal, what they have is influence and persuasion. And that is what is the power of an organization like that, if they are to apply their concerns to Trinidad and Tobago. But let's go to the lines. Pleasant good night to welcome to the corridor.
Yeah. Yes, good night, Lennox. I have been advocating for the longest while with this EBC. I call them the evil C.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
Because they're too wicked. They're supposed to be splitting Sub-Area in 2. You understand? And other UNC areas that have more voters than they're supposed to have with regards to the ratio.
Within their constituencies, yes, because there is.
Yes.
You're quite right. You are very right. because
I've been saying that for 10 years,
yeah,
Lennox.
right.
This man could,
There is a there is a numerical figure beyond which a constituency will be seen as overpopulated. I think it's about 20 or 21,000, and therefore you must now look to see how you can create a new constituency with the excesses. And I am saying in the future the EBC will have no choice whether the PNM influence or not. They will have no choice. But go ahead, my friend. I think you are on the right path
they,
in terms
they
of
is
that
a pro,
position. Yes.
the EVC is a product of the PNM.
Yes.
If those were PNM constituencies, see how fast they split them.
Oh, of course.
They
Yes,
already
yes.
split them.
Yes.
You see how fast they split up in Tobago?
Yes.
That EVC is not an independent organization. That is a PNM organization. You know that?
Yes.
How they gerrymander all the seats to the east-west corridor. Eh? And when you watch the map of Trinidad, you see a little piece of red and 3/4 it is yellow, and yet you lost. I can't understand this kind of nonsense taking place in this place.
Yes.
It's really ridiculous. But I want to ask Gypsy some questions tonight because I hear that over what it is for the year 2023,
Yeah.
they spent 19,549,000 in toilets, right? Rental and 10 rentals for that same period is almost $23 million.
Wow.
Who is the one give out over $40 million for the carnival for tents and also toilets, 40 toilets? Who is the one get the kickback for that, Lennox? Under the NCC. That is for 2023. We ain't counting 2024. When they go and do check up on 2024, it could be more the same corruption that's going on there. You can imagine you own a tent rental, Lennox, and you gain $23 million for that for carnival. What kind of tent you are there? It can't be a circumstance.
It brings me one time, even though it is a bit diversionary, but I think it is in that context. That's why Gypsy gas station in Cuba don't have gas at all. In fact, I think it's on the verge of collapse because it is owing NGC or whosoever it is quite a lot of money for gas taken and used, but not paid for. So I understand. So he's looking. Clearly, one could say that an alternative is presented in the use of public funds in that way in the NCC, having of course he being the head of that organization. I'm just speculating.
And those are only for two items. We ain't talking lighting and other fixtures, eh?
Yes.
We ain't talking that, eh?
And the construction of the
yes.
and all of that, yes.
All of this corruption taking place there and somebody getting kicked back out of these things, Lennox. I can understand you renting out 10 for $23 million for a few months, Lennox. Come on, man. That just look like what's going on with the TTPS and the cameras.
Oh,
and
yeah,
don't talk about this.
Same playbook, yeah.
And when you hear the Mark bus with those cars that they're gonna buy, there's 2,000 cars they're gonna get just now. You go hear somebody in the pipeline collecting over a couple $100 million
Yeah.
for that.
Finder's fee.
Yeah.
That was
Boy.
a fancy name for corruption and kickbacks. They call it finder's fee and advance payments for reasons that are very, very nebulous. But go ahead.
The opposition leader went on record saying yesterday, the Prime Minister said he spent $60 billion. Right? He borrowed $60 billion. When she do check it, it's $118 billion.
Yeah, 118. That's right. Yes.
118 billion plus, right?
Yeah.
And every figure this man called me will bring it upside down, it wrong side. He could never balance the budget. Let's tell all the fellas that everything they bring, they have to throw some kind of thing behind it. $50 million in entertainment, and the year before you spent what $800 and something thousand for the whole year.
Yeah.
We going to do $50 million.
Claiming at that point in time, claiming that Kamala spent more because remember when he talked about how much for a plate of roti and
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, and he was very strident and very vitriolic and excoriating and critical. Now he has entertainment to the tune of over $400 No, sorry. In this case, it's 50 million. Is
50
it?
million.
50 million, yes.
And then they put
The 400 million
400 million,
is a different
400
matter.
million under Unicode to do what? And what she say is that all of those figures there, Unicode don't account for it, but the 400 million gone there, she don't know what that's going for.
Yeah, because they were already
Because,
paid,
yeah, they were already paid.
or they were paid, and being, of course, that was being serviced through the line ministry, on whose behalf they executed these physical projects. Yeah.
Yeah, that's making slush fund and like
Of course,
450
it's slush fund,
million in
no
slush
doubt.
fund.
Only is that character that is despicable, a rapscallion of unlimited proportion, and he must be exposed for who he is, a total pedophile, rapist, and criminal of a serial nature. Go ahead, my friend.
I'm glad you bring up that part, Lennox, because she played a clip there from a gentleman.
Yes.
I think he was running some kind of
Yes,
I don't know if
he was the loan commissioner in a
right, a commission, right.
of those children's home, and then he of course revealed certain information in his report that this government, this PNM, never looked at, even though it is decades old.
I want to ask the police and them some questions here tonight. If it is that this gentleman where you were saying, right, that they did a DNA test on the little child, and 2 DNA came up, one person already dead, right? We have an idea who that is, and the other person still functioning in this PNM government, in this regime, and is still alive. Why it is all here in act and go and arrest that man because he was involved in some kind of misbehavior there where this little child lost his life. And I asking Erla and company, are they in somebody's back pocket? That's why they cannot act. But the right thinking thing to do would have gone to apprehend this person because DNA don't lie, no, that's DNA don't lie.
But more than that, just as rape, burglary and murder has no time limit. It doesn't matter what time it is, and they get you by new technology being used, and you infringe the criminal law in that way, you should be charged. You should be brought to justice.
That is true.
Yes, sir.
Because there was a mass murderer fella in America. He went to court several times and the case get dropped. Right? It's only when they did DNA sampling of some certain victims and him match it back up, and he get charged for not one and five murders. And they say allegedly he maybe killed about 120 something people that they can't find. But he dead now. But this is what I'm trying to tell you. People like this individual who is wrong still, and in and wrong the PNM, because I believe what Ms. Bissessa say is the truth, right? But Dr. Rowley, he does always have some other way of turning things around, right? And saying that that is not relevant to his party, whatever. But you have a guilty person involved in your party with regards to DNA testing, and you damn well know who the person is. Call the police and let them arrest that individual because that little child suffered and they kill him. That child will be in the 30s now. You understand? And they take away a mother child and kill it, right? I tell you, this ain't end there now. That cannot end it. Somebody have to have justice for that little boy because he blood crying out for justice. You understand?
That's
under
right.
this wicked regime. How about good day, Lennox?
Thank you, of course, and maybe I could tantalize your inquisitive mind by saying, of course, we know the person that was referred to as passed on, Ken Valley, and the one that is still in high office in this country, we can reference a high official in the judiciary. I say no more. So, here we have it. The reality is that in the future, not too distant, the EBC will have no choice. But then when Sir UNC comes into office, they are going to sanitize. They are going to, of course, engage in the cleansing of the EBC and put people there with integrity who have no, of course, obligation to seeing anybody except the integrity of the organization perform its duty in the way that it is expected of them by the population. That is to say, to superintend elections. Free from fear, fearless, and with a level playing field. I say so to you because there's another factor that we never observe, or should I say not generally observe. And notice, it is only the PNM over the electoral history of Trinidad and Tobago that have been accused of stealing elections. Notice that. So that is why I could say without fear of contradiction and with a high degree of confidence as a citizen of this country that the UNC, when in government, I can trust them to do what is required to maintain the integrity of such an important pillar of our democracy and the execution of the Representation of the People's Act be done in accordance with what is expected. And while, of course, you can't put everything in black and white, but in the tradition of how electoral agencies, or should I say election supervision agencies, are supposed to operate throughout the globe. High standards, no bias, because they don't have any horse in the race. That is how it is. And I want to tell you, while UNC to a lesser extent did of course express their concern, but the PNM expressed a deep concern when the new and current chairman of the EBC said that as far as returning officers are concerned, in particular returning officers, they want a declaration as to your political affiliation, and PNM was the first out of the block to say no, that cannot be. But we know, and there's ample evidence, that most, if not all, of the returning officers for the 41 constituencies have had some kind of relationship, or maybe feel that they are beholding to the PNM. Because I have experienced, for example, you could feel it. Your sixth sense could tell you. I have had discussions, for example, with Nasser Scope, the Chief Elections Officer. I have had discussions, of course, with returning officers. And I can tell you, while they appear to be on the surface congenial, and while they appear to be suggesting that they are cooperative, but you could sense, your sixth sense could sense, that that is not genuine. Why are you questioning? Why are you telling me, for example, that there are too many people when I raise the issue with the EBC and the Chief Elections Officer in 2 or 3 elections gone by as political leader of love and committed, of course, to the Laventille question and the advancement thereof, both economical as well as electoral or political. I was told, when I told them that too many people outside of Laventille who have left Laventille come back into Laventille to influence the outcome of an election, and therefore determine who must be our representative too often. And then I identified, of course, those housing developments that strewn Laventille, Mova, Beetham, Eastport of Spain. Yeah. I was told that I have to go and get the evidence. when of course the EBC would have had the resources to do at least a cursory examination by simply sending their agents and knocking on the door to find out whether or not the person registered in their information binders are in fact living there. You will get information from neighbors, you will get information from the persons who are living next door, whether you consider that person a neighbor or not, or people on the streets, as the case may be. If you were serious about engaging in finding out whether or not persons for more than 6 months or for years have not been seen in the place where they have their address still, but living elsewhere and never change their address, but to come back to Laventille and influence the outcome. I am talking about that as a microcosm that may well be happening across Trinidad and Tobago. The migratory pattern for families, especially when we have adopted the Western style egalitarian family, where mommy, daddy, and maybe 2 or 3 children, and then they go of course and find their own place, and usually far away from their place of birth or their place of what I consider to be their formative years. They move out, but yet still they come back and vote and influence, of course, the lives of those that they would have left there. They have gone to greener pastures in their own respective right, and they have a right so to do. But the fact is, change your address and influence, of course, the outcome of the elections in your new place of residence. I think I've said enough because, of course, we are already 17 minutes past 9. I know that I started about 12 minutes late, but I'll try, of course, to stick to the 1 hour span on this occasion. But let me go straight, of course, one time to read it for you, my letter to the EBC, the first of many such letters, because depending on the outcome, I will, of course, either engage the ombudsman or file for judicial review if the answers are not forthcoming, and I believe that I would have been shortchanged. And then after that process would have been completed, I will be, of course, engaging a number of international entities to which the EBC is either associated, affiliated, or attached. Because birds of feather flock together, and institutions like these, they have an international one to superintend, of course, and to generate and maintain, of course, a standard of conduct, behavior, delivery, and processes that if they are infringed by any unit, regardless of the country that they belong to, they can, of course, communicate that concern, having regard to the fact that citizens like myself in this case have brought such iniquities to their attention. So we still have some time, and the longer Rowley takes, of course, to call the elections of 2025, the greater the opportunity for me to, of course, achieve in totality my objective. That being as it may, let's go to the letter that is behind me, that is on screen. Of course, being the political leader of the Laventille Outreach for Vertical Enrichment, the acronym is LOVE, L-O-V-E. And the symbol, of course, as you will see there, is the rocket. And you see all of that registered with the EBC. Yes, that is registered. And of course, we contested, I must say, the 27 general elections in concert with the UNCA. Yes, that was the political vehicle that was used, even though we were using the cliche Laventille for Laventillians, but that is the political party that gave rise to not just the manifesto of 2007. And for the first time, I want to tell Laventillians, you were mentioned extensively, a whole page, I believe, or a page and a half or half page. Get a copy of the 2007 UNCA manifesto led by Pandey, and you will recognize that there was a party called Love or Laventille Outreach for Political Enrichment, but for popularity's sake and for easy access, our slogan for that year was Laventille for Laventillians. Yes, but in it, many of you may not have known, and maybe we didn't do such a good job in informing you, so it's better late than never in such circumstance. Because I want to tell you, yes, there are people from Laventille and adjacent communities such as Port of Spain South that we consider to have the same socio-economic and psycho-cultural antecedent and experiences. Of course, inside of there, when you break it down, it comprises of Beetham, Sealat, Chumakak, Success Village, yes indeed, Africa, Laventille on the Hill, yes, of course, the Piccadilly community, East Port of Spain, I said Sealat already, Belmont, etc. Yes, that is the area divided into its political division and comprises of 3 constituencies. Laventille East Movement, which is the most easterly of them. And then, of course, to the west of Laventille East Mova is Laventille West. And then, of course, further west, you have Port of Spain South. And those are the areas socio-economically and psycho-culturally unified, having the same experiences. Love was designed to address politically. Yes, I know that you don't know. I know it's the first time that you're hearing it. I know that it is good news as well. I know that some of you are amazed that all that was happening since 2007. And I said, take a note of the UNCA manifesto. I'm going to bring it. I will not lose the opportunity. I will certainly, as we go forward into the next elections, and as we tell Rowley and they that their days are numbered as individuals who have betrayed the people, and as an organization that has morphed by them into a criminal enterprise, and that they have betrayed, of course, the people who along the East-West corridor in particular have, of course, see them as their savior, see the PNM as the rightful place that they should be and associated with. But repeatedly, they were disappointed, they were betrayed. That level of perfidiousness has no boundary, and therefore, in such circumstance, we must now, of course, reconfigure and reevaluate and, of course, generate a paradigm shift. And of course, divest ourselves of the paradigm paralysis that has, of course, plagued these communities over the years. And therefore, we must understand that 5 years is not an eternity, because the PNM would like you to believe that 5 years is an eternity, and therefore you mustn't shift. I say get rid of that notion and divest yourself of that psychological bondage. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Lennox, good night to you,
Good
and
night
good
to you as
night
well.
to everybody out here. Lennox,
Hey.
well, it has started. It has started with fake documents gate.
Yes.
He continued with panting the sewer gate,
Oh, yes.
and now we hearing that I want to find the right word, Lennox,
Go ahead,
but
I'll help you
apparently
if necessary.
and hello.
I said, go ahead. I will help you if it's necessary.
Lennox, I want to find the right word to describe this nasty, dirty rascal to stand up in Parliament and say a known gangster tell he that somebody high in the UNC paid him to kill somebody. Like if email gate wasn't sufficient, just whap him out. Whap him out, come to tell people that somebody in the UNC pay him $60,000 to kill somebody.
Like he don't know.
Lennox, what is wrong with these people?
Like he don't know people taking as low as $5,000, maybe $500 to kill somebody. He don't know that. But of course, he has to make it sensational. But go ahead. And you know, I didn't hear him. Is you telling me now what I can tell you? That is how
Yes,
they would operate.
Lennox.
Yes.
They have nothing to campaign on.
Yes.
Nothing but fake documents, panting the sewer line, and now we hearing a hit on somebody. Some high-ranking person in the UNC. Now tell me, Lennox, if you as the Minister of National Security, right, a known gangster, all you're looking for gangster, but you was talking to a known gangster, tell you that the man is a blasted failure. That alone proves how this man is a failure. And I want to know what Rowley do about that.
Nothing, of course, because it never happened. It's obvious. Nothing, of course, because it never happened. That's a figment of the very fertile imagination. But go ahead.
But Lennox, let me tell you something. I think it's the high grade he's smoking. Have him delusional. It had to be.
Sleepy. Narcoleptic, yes.
Yeah, but he's sleeping so much. I wonder if he dreamt it.
But that's the point I'm making. It never happened. It might be
yes.
part of a dream that he said, oh gosh, another one again, because he must know that PNM and frequent and unrelenting murders is one and the same. So he probably says, when he gets up, he says, and next one again, probably I'm going back to sleep again. Go ahead.
Yeah. But Lennox, that is, and you see where he said it?
Yeah. Yeah, in Parliament.
In Parliament, yeah. But I mean, oh good God, all they tried it with the email, all they come back again.
Yeah. That's why Tobago hit them for 6 when they came back with the Calcutta ship. Trinidad will do the same, but of course for the same principal reason, but the circumstance might be different.
And Lennox, White is up to now. Stuart Young, we have not heard from Stuart Young saying that he's going to report Roger to the fraud squad.
Because, again, a figment
it's another lie.
Of their imagination.
Yes, another lie.
And they could do that to the protection like Rowley did with the emails of the parliamentary privilege it is called.
And look at how we going to talk, and the next one couldn't find nothing else to talk about. But you find panties in the sewer, clogging the sewer. I don't know why didn't clog him out. Why didn't clog him out? Lennox, but let me tell you something, I have it from good sources.
Go ahead.
Because, you know, I am on the ground. I'm listening to everybody on the ground.
Yes.
You see the race.
You're riveted to the ground. Yes.
You see the... Right, you see the race baiting? The race baiting and the nastiness has already started in Labrie.
Good.
But I'm calling on our UNC people, do not fall for that bait. Do not fall for it. Don't answer them. When they come with their nastiness and they're lying, don't answer them.
Yes, that's way
even your all your yeah. Even our own.
And sink your hand in that ink after you would stamp solidly.
Lennox, if we could dip we whole body, we're gonna do it.
We would have. But they got enough ink for
that. But Lennox, I'm gonna tell you something, and we can't forget these stink UNC, bad-minded UNC people too, You understand? We can't forget them too,
We'll take care of that in due course. So that is the least of our worries.
Who love to come who love to come on all the radio stations and them and lie.
Yeah.
Lie on the councillors, lie on the MPs and them. What all you profiting, Lennox, by doing something like that? They are no different to Rowley and them and these lies that they put it out there for the election, you know.
No, of course.
What do they hope to gain by that? Oh God, we have enough people to fight out already. All they coming out with all this stupidness. All they coming out with all this stupidness. Lennox, it never ending, you know.
Of course.
It never
it will
ending.
Have a bottomless pit of a devious, a sinister,
Yeah.
and always, of course, for political opportunity that they will eventually have to forego, because the people are wiser and they are more educated and they are more conscious of the evil that is the PNM, a criminal enterprise.
Lennox, this morning I went down to the St. James Infirmary to get my medication.
Yes.
And you know, while we sat down there, we talking. And Lennox, let me tell you something. People might be coming out, you know.
That's
But
right.
people waiting.
Waiting impatiently.
They're waiting
Impatiently.
patiently, Lennox, for that bell to ring. And if Rowley feel Hines and Stuart Young and them feel they could come with their lies, the half-truth, the innuendos and the propaganda, nobody fall in faith this wrongs. Nobody fall in faith. And I hearing Gary Griffith talking a set of crap now about what if Kamala have proof at this, that, and the other, why she don't take it to the police. I want to tell Gary Griffith, oh, shut up, the man. Shut up. Nobody wants to hear you. Nobody wants to hear you.
Is Gary
It
talking?
is in the Judith Jones report.
Yeah, Gary Griffith talking that talk. But I mean, is he now seeing in others that which is in him? And he is the man
Yeah.
who said that he got 45 million to hung down UNC
Yeah.
activists, you know. He's the man who said that. He's the man who
Yeah.
said that a prime minister
They
tried
paid
to
the fine, yeah,
influence
the
him,
prime minister give him,
tried to
yeah.
influence him as commissioner
Yeah.
to give a friend of his a fuel or a firearms user's license. Not so.
Yeah.
And why
Right.
did he act? Why did he act in it? So, and he was in a position to act because he was commissioner of police. So this is self-righteous indignation, and of course,
Yeah.
what I consider to be situational ethics at its worst.
And sanctimonious hypocrisy.
And sanctimonious
Sanctimonious hypocrisy.
That's
Yes,
right.
Lennox.
Those are the kind of adjectival clauses
Yeah.
or phrases that has to be used in moving forward against these people.
The man
They
get
must
on
know
as
they
though
must be
you know,
careful.
he was walking on water. The man get on as though he was walking on water, Lennox.
Yes.
And vexed with Kamala when Kamala talking about pedophiles in the PNM. But it is in the Sabga and the Judith Jones report.
That's right. And she played it. Sabga himself, before whatever he did subject himself to a video that is well known to all of us. And of course,
Yeah.
imagine if Rowley running down our audio, our audio in Tobago. They're telling me that he has now a video with audio, and they don't understand that their asses are grasses and that they must do some introspection and they cannot obfuscate or relinquish or abandon or abdicate their responsibility to investigate. No. Let's continue, man.
Lennox, let me tell you something, eh? Rowley, you know, as you rightly said, his ass is grass.
Yes, of course.
And he trying all how to come with these lies on him. Nothing can wipe away the fact that your allowance, I'll call it allowance, right? The office
Yes.
of the Prime Minister's allowance moved from $850,000 to $50 million. It cannot wipe out the fact that $400 million was used to build what? Nobody can find it. Nobody can find it. And you coming to talk about Kamala? You coming to talk about Kamala? But I was glad when she came out with that press conference yesterday.
Oh, yes. So she
And laid
showed
everything
poise.
out on the table.
Yes,
Yeah.
she shows poise, tenacity,
Yeah.
and of course, with the appropriate body language,
Yeah.
reminiscent of a true leader for as prime minister. But go ahead, my friend.
But Anne Lennox, she said she's not going into the gutter with him.
That's
She's
right.
right.
Not, yes.
Let him go and let him take all of them. And Lennox, imagine, Paula Gopi Schoon is saying that the Kamala's government, Kamala never did anything to help poor people with food prices. These people have no shame, Lennox. Like Kobo eat the shame, rat eat the shame. Look, this lady. She took VAT off of 7,000 food items to help with the poor. She was giving the baby milk grant. And this woman saying Kamala never did anything. And Lennox, before I leave, I want to take you down memory lane a little bit.
Go ahead, by all means.
Lennox, you remembered when Stephen Cady stood up in Parliament and reminded this nation that man in government, PNM government, bought exotic coconut trees to be planted on Maracas Bay, the beach.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Imagine that, Lennox. Exotic coconut trees. Millions in exotic coconut trees from Maracas Bay. And you remember they had beach chairs and things on the beach?
Yes.
Lennox, they feel that we are stupid in this country. Exotic coconut trees, Lennox. What again they're spending money on? Useless.
Yeah.
But their time is coming. And Lennox, let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
Their time has to come to an end.
Of course.
Their time has to come to an end.
As they give way tonight, let's not waste time.
Yeah.
Is that what it's going to be?
Lennox, we cannot take much of this again, because I could tell you something here tonight
The Lord knows
that should they get back there. You see that first month in office, what he did to Caroni workers, the Caroni Greens workers, he will do us worse than that in the country, and we will have to endure it for another 5 years. So let people play stupid. You understand? Let them only look for the Kingston Kamala armor and in all the UNC MPs and councillor armor. Right? Let them look for it good and don't study what PNM do to this country. Lennox, thanks a lot and have a good night.
No problem. And I want to say that a pink donkey we will not see at the PNM. And of course, to be at Police Gate is a distant illusion for Rowley and the PNM. And the inevitability of the UNC and Kamala Prasad Bisesa returning to government is as certain as not only when night gives way to day and vice versa, but it is as certain and constant as the Northern Star. Yes, and will not change. It is immutable like a scent. So I thought I should make that intervention. Thank you, caller. Of course, our external, what I consider to be journalist or our external contributor to the corridor transformation, Ms. Sally Cruz. Thank you very much, of course, for that excellent, once again, presentation and intervention. But enough talk. Let's get to the creme de la creme tonight. Let's get, of course, to the reading of that document. Tomorrow, of course, I will have it converted to audio so we could play it and possibly, of course, have it in a video form as well so that you can see why it is being dictated, so to speak, or read out. But let's go to the lines first and foremost. You know, we always give way to, of course, our callers. So pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Mr. Smith.
Good night to you, sir.
Huh?
Loud and clear, my friend. Loud and clear, man. The system just bubbling with
joy.
Yes. Efficaciousness and efficiency. But go ahead. Yes.
Let me ask you this. If you're a stranger are coming in this country. And then only PNM strong only down in the West and all them things. And all of a sudden you see them graduating, all of them want to go in Caroni and in Canada area now.
Yeah.
What that's suggesting to you? Folks will go come in and get real trouble in them areas when you come somewhere in. Wouldn't that be the first thought that will come to you? While you're running in Canada and them areas? Maybe people in the area want them again?
Yeah.
No. Kamala have 1930. So she's in front. All of them who are aspiring to get a seat. They play catch up. So she had to take on them. She 1930. The rest of them have nothing. And they sure they get nothing either. Ben Stinkball was talking to the Parliament times.
Yes. I guess so.
William, if you're so church admiring you, admiring the man, say not admiring him, you know why? The amount of pressure church get a year on the war. But I see the thing this way just like you. I in front is always a catch. Or the other trying to catch me. I don't think I'm not going to lose one seat in her area. Not one seat you're going to lose. And George Young, Hive, Prisoner Brambali, and all this thing, but you know he's a singer too. Right?
Yeah, well, of course, it's political grandstanding in another circumstance, another occasion. They would, of course, castigate and malign. So we know that that is par for the course, and that is the opportunistic nature of every single PNM in that in that parliament, and of course, and in the various ministries that they would be manning, and some of those in the various state enterprises that would have been populated by Rowley and the PNM to administer. So we know.
Right. Let me get to my main topic what I want to talk about. I know Canada done with the election already. So I don't know about people who still have the head but we're only going to and you want to bring this voting machine whatever you using in Venezuela, right? That's the machine you want to bring in.
Yeah, but we will be monitoring. They are ambiguous. They are not forthright with what the real thing is. They gave us a very what I consider to be generic statements that suggests some kind of improvement by the use of technology. We will watch and see what are the factors, what are the variables to, of course, to make sense of what they are saying. But go ahead. So far it is ambiguous.
But that machine, what was you use in the last election?
Yes.
When you put in your vote, a little ticket just come out, with a normal it. And then when the opposition, you are kept. They kept the stuff. You had to get a receipt for your vote. And that's how they was able to show that for the way we know election. So if that is the machine you begin, you have no point there. Because if I put in my vote, I get back my thing, and I know who I vote for, and how many number. So that number will correspond to the voting list itself.
Yeah, I think that's a fair system if you're using the technology, you're using machine thing, and I must get a receipt for my vote, and therefore if there is a question, all the receipts totaling in a particular constituency will then determine whether or not there is some kind of attempt to subvert the process. So yes, I can understand that. Yeah.
That is what happened in Venezuela. Because the opposition didn't tell everybody when they get your shit back, keep it, and they kept it.
Yeah.
So you can check it against
against the chip that you had. And of course, the opposition was very active and very proactive in that regard. In fact, because the courts recognized that that would have been the ultimate validation of the outcome of the elections, they never considered it in terms of getting those stubs, if you want to call it that, to verify each one, and therefore the tally would tell you who won and who didn't win. But of course, they said that Maduro gave Blix bad, so therefore it was an easy calculation. Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The next thing I want to tell you is this. How fake police get in the system?
How what?
Fake police.
Yeah.
How they get in the system? Fake police can have it after taking $500,000 from him. And the police van.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
You can see it, Joshua. Let me tell you what happened, Lennox.
Go ahead.
From a remote San Juan, but we have a police station on the main road. Right? But let me just give you 3 police stations. Let me give you the Aruka police station, the Tulapuna police station, and the St. Joseph police station.
Okay. Along the East-West corridor.
Alright.
The eastern side, yes.
Good. Nobody is supposed to come out his own. For instance, if Aruka police walking up to the president and Caribbean, you know the bridge, right?
Yes.
Right. They're not supposed to go past that because they have all the areas in the
Yeah, because there is an established boundary. That's how they would have had a precinct demarcated for that particular area. Yeah.
Yeah, because they have the whole area, they won't call it the macros.
Yeah.
And then Tulapuna police will pick it up from there and head down the road and up to where they're supposed to stop.
Yes.
And then St. Joseph police will pick it up and so on.
Right.
But if you come out of your zone, right? In America, when they have high speed chase on the highways, they'll show you. If they're chasing a fella, but the time they see they go out of the zone, they just call up ahead and tell the other squad can't follow that.
Yeah, and they take over the chase.
That's right.
Yeah. If you think that the chase entered, the officers there will take over the chase and move forward. Yeah.
That's right. So what's going on here? In my observation, so if you have 3 police vehicles operating in the area, you remember the city have the vehicles?
Yeah.
So you have 3 operating on the main road and the Marcos and so on. And they stay inside the zone. When they see a 4th vehicle, they must have a fake one day.
Yeah.
Must have a fake one day. So the operating might get out.
Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised.
You can't leave your zone. Like you're causing all this thing. Every time you see it, you go in the head around there, and you're reaching your zone and you call Tulapuna police and you take over.
That's all. There must be some communication. There must be some communication.
And everybody has telephone and all this thing. And walkie-talkie. So every time you try to talk to the 4th vehicle, you're saying, I hear you don't answer. You know, like a fake police vehicle. But the police force and them are all operated by the vital.
Yeah, clearly, it's clear. I mean, if talking niceties was practicalities, they get a Academy Award. I'm being facetious here, but because Academy Award would mean acting, but that's how it seemed to me, that they're in a state of the total theatrics and appeasement by verbalization that really and truly is not sufficient or has fallen short of what the population expects as far as addressing their security issues are concerned.
Now you remember the former inspector that I introduced you to the Kenya.
Yes.
I just contacted him.
Okay.
I think absolutely correct. Ruka police van not supposed to leave the zone. They're not supposed to. It's just like America.
Okay,
This is
friend.
why he, huh?
Yes, yes, I hear you.
This is why he say police are in the system LENNOX.
All right.
I mean that is if I according to you, not a rocket scientist.
Yeah, of course. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to assess that. Yes.
To know that.
All right.
My not rocket scientist to my job is man first man that we all are rocket scientists again.
I hear you, my friend. I hear you.
Like the first man talk about being a rocket scientist.
Yeah, right.
Right? But I feel all things anyway, there's a more
Yeah.
Shampa Kojo in the parliament. She said, people interview elect here for you. This is why I am here. Because the people interview elect me and they're going to elect me again.
Yeah.
And she really is someone I dream with.
Okay.
Huh? Nobody really want to see them? So all that what end up to the end
Yeah.
I think I'm not this same coke with.
All right.
Right?
Yes.
All right. And I see you and Andy. But they like a good man. In Donald Trump. He looks like he's going to win the election.
I hear you, my friend. I hear you. All we did was place the facts before the population as we saw it and see it. All right, well, thank you very much for your intervention.
Yeah. If I think about anything, I'll call you.
Yeah, okay, then, no problem. Yes, people, of course, we are rapidly, of course, approaching 10 o'clock. Of course, it's 9 minutes. Let me get to reading this thing now, please. Let me get to reading. I mean, 4 days straight and no reading. Let me just read it for you so you will understand what was sent to the EBC via, of course, my party, the Laboratory Lotteries for Political Enrichment. The acronym is LOVE, L-O-V-E, and of course the symbol is the rocket. The sky is the limit, so to speak. It was, of course, on the 1st of October 2024 to the Chairman, Elections and Boundaries Commission, Scott House, 134 to 138 Frederick Street, Port Spain. Urgent and confidential. Subject, of course, request for information pursuant of the Freedom of Information Act 1998. Oh boy. All right, okay, let's go straight to the line. Of course, as I say, I don't want to be inconsistent like Rowley, and they want to be consistent. So I'll have to take the call. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Pleasant good night, Mr. LENNOX.
Good night to you as well, my friend.
And pleasant good night to the right-thinking citizen of this beloved country, Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. LENNOX?
Yes.
I don't know if it's a recent old talking, but I heard the outgoing Prime Minister on a platform talking to a set of non-believers, if you so to speak.
Okay.
Right? And he was talking about the 4 million or the 400 million or 4 million, I'm not sure. Can't remember how much million. I know 4 was the figure that my distinguished leader was speaking about.
Yes, 400 million. 400 million, yes.
400 million.
Yeah, they seem to have an obsession with that because the highway to Manzanilla was also 400 million waste money, a highway to nowhere. But go ahead.
But when you watch the Prime Minister, outgoing Prime Minister that is, making the argument about what the distinguished leader of the UNC, the Prime Minister in waiting, right now I'm 120% sure. So like you know.
Good, great.
Right?
Well, come aboard and to the majority, to the vast majority.
Dr. Rowley lying so much that he and all convincing himself that he's telling the truth.
Yeah. That's the level of madness. You know, there's a saying, who the gods wish to destroy when they send them like Rowley, when they express.
Yeah. Come in here and speak. He's speaking, you know, like you're lying. But the lie you're giving, all you convincing is the non-believers, if it's so to speak, and himself. Because he convinced himself he tells the truth because he gets so used to the lying to the non-believers. We the believers, you know, because we believe in Kamala Prasad Desesa and the UNC with a deal with social issues.
the United National Congress will form the next government of Trinidad and Tobago. But I want the people to know, hold your hand, because after we get into office, we have so much work to do. We got 10 years at thieving. The whole country have problems here.
Oh yes, oh yes. Well,
And we will need more than 5 years to fix it. But we will start with the 5 years that the people of Trinidad and Tobago is going to give our party and our distinguished leader to lead and try to bring back this place, try to put acting in place, let the land for the landless, the food, the 7,000 items in the grocery and price control, and you know, and I heard her say she will do anything in her power to try to reopen back Petrogen. And you know why I will always believe everything come out of my leader mouth? Because my leader almost had 90-something% of her manifesto. From 2010 to 2015, she delivered almost 90% of her manifesto. And it has nobody dare to challenge that. So that's why I will always support my leader and the United National Congress. So everybody, all again, LENNOX come in every night and talking. We call in every night and making our voice we heard on the programs. We call in the ground report. We call in all the programs that fighting for equal rights and justice and to help remove the PNM from office. So all you come on board now. Right now, Mr. LENNOX supposed to be seeing about 15,000 people on this live here. All you come on board now. Don't wait till it's too late, you know. Because when you see the train start to move, you can't hop a moving train or you'll get a white man. But I don't care about that side.
I hear you. And I hope people know it's a white man, you know, that that whitish, what I consider to be erosion of the skin. And you see, of course, that white part there, but it turns very soon to red because it's blood like peas. But that means that yes, as a result of some kind of incident, where, of course, that abrasion turns into a very painful experience. But that means that let's go straight, of course, back into that. I'm not going to start over. I'm going to go straight to the subject. The subject, request for information pursuant of the Freedom of Information Act 1998, is supposed to be the circumstances and or information with a supporting documentation that led to the decision to engage, deploy, or otherwise contracted the private company Grand Bay Limited to dispose of for recycling electoral paper-based materials and or documents. Schedule, of course, Freedom of Information Act in 1998, a request for access to official documents pursuant of Section 13. And of course, one says, document 1 says, we're looking for a document pertaining to, and of course there's a description in the table, description of document requested, and of course a form of, document. A copy of minutes and any relevant documentation in relation to the EBC's decision to contract the Grand Bay Company to dispose EBC paper-based or any other category of material that formed part of the items that comprise the items for recycling by the said Grand Bay Limited under contract. 2A. So A 2 has, of course, 1, 2, 3, A, a B, and a C, and a D. Did EBC employ Grand Bay Limited prior to the contract referred to in clause 1? So we want to know if it's the first time or if they were deployed before that. B, if yes, state the dates of execution or executions and and purposes of these or any such contracts. Yes, we want to know. C, was Grand Bay, it should be the sole contract, meaning that were they selected from a group of persons without, of course, any kind of competition or people submitting bids. We want to know, were they sole contract engaged, or was a bidding, or was there a bidding process? D, if yes to the former in C, so if it's yes to C, if there was a sole contract, state reasons. If yes to the latter in C, meaning that the reason for the bidding process, indicate the other bidders and their respective requests for proposal RFP sums submitted. So in other words, whether they are sole contractor, if they are sole contractor, we want to know why you selected them sole contractors. Is it that you have a list of contractors and you pull them out of a cap? What? And of course, if they bidded and therefore had other people bidding as well, we want to know their bids as well, and of course their names. So that is 2, 3. A. So 3 has a B, and a C, and says A, was or is EBC aware that Grand Bay was provided with financial support from the government of Trinidad and Tobago in 2016, as announced by the current finance minister in the form of a loan guarantee of $5 million US, ostensibly to save the jobs of 400 employees at the company. We want to know. B, if yes to A, did the EBC in its deliberation and all deliberations to contract Grand Bay Limited for the purposes or purpose as stated in 2 above, considered possible conflict of interest of any law, of any law and or possible infringement thereof, including the Integrity in Public Life Act, fiduciary responsibility for transparent use of public funds allocated to EBC. Yes, we want to know. In pursuing with contracting Grand Bay Limited for the task as outlined in the contract. Yes, we want to know. C, when was the contract in question executed by Grand Bay Limited? Executed to the satisfaction of the EBC, and when and by what means payment was made. We want to know. You give them check, you give them cash, we want to know. And of course, the 4 has 3 sections as well, A, B, and C, for which elections the paper documents and other materials, if any, consisted. B, was paper documents and or any other material from the 2020 general elections formed part of the items identified for disposal for recycling by EBC pursuant of the contract in question. Yes, we want to know. C, if any 2020 documents, because the newspapers and investigators have told us, and the newspapers are replete with, of course, information that polling cards and other documents relating to the 2020 general elections form part of the bales of paper that was found on the compound of Grand Bay. So I'm merely formalizing it and therefore putting it in a form where the EBC must now account to us, and by extension, of course, to you, for what transpired there. We will make our own conclusion thereafter. C, what specific electoral and or administrative paper documents and or other materials were identified for disposal, recycling, subject to the terms of the contract. That is to say, whether whether in quantity, size, kilogram, and former use thereof, etc. That is to say, of these materials that were identified for recycling. 5A. If paper documents and or other materials from the 2020 general elections were part of the for recycling contract with Grand Bay Limited, state, we are asking the EBC to state what specific material or materials were so designated. B, what is the typical or usual time frame for by statutory or tradition or convention, such items that were identified for disposal are kept by EBC before a disposal decision is taken. In other words, we want to know, and we know of course, but we want to know formally from them, because the documents or the material has to be 1 year after any elections for the disposal of material. So in other words, how come within 2 or 3 months of the 2020 general elections, 2020 materials, 2020 general election materials was being disposed of? That is a no-no. It is against the rules, the law. You must wait at least a year. And of course, in other cases where an election, the next election is impending, you could now of course engage in the disposal of that which you have to dispose of prior, associated with prior elections in your possession. Yes, people. C, if A is in the affirmative, meaning that if paper of 2020 were used, what were the circumstances and or consideration deployed which would have given rise for items from the 2020 general elections be disposed of consistent with the contractual arrangements with Grand Bay Limited. Sorry about that in the background, but there's a little dog that we acquired here, and if it is, I hope it is not disturbing you, but it's certainly, of course, I am talking loud enough so those in the studio here will take note. But it appears that is not the case, so let's continue. D, if paper items and or materials were included from the 2020 general elections, whether polling cards and or ballot papers were part of the said material and or items that formed part of the materials that were disposed of via the contract with Grand Bay. Yes, Limited, we want to know. And 6, of course, I had to bring in 6 because of my own selfish reason. We are looking to give back some money. Having, of course, my party contested the 2015 elections. We put up 3 candidates, Laverton East, Laverton West, and Port of Spain South. So I want to know. And I asked the question, was any consideration given to reimbursing small political parties and independents of the deposit, that is the $5,000, they would have lodged with the EBC in relation to the judicially confirmed decision of the appeal court in the election petition pursued by the UNC, which indicated, among other things, that the EBC had no authority, legal or otherwise, to extend voting time by 1 hour in the 2015 general elections. Of course, Freedom of Information, 1998, name of Public Authority, Elections and Boundaries Commission, the name of the applicant, LENNOX Smith, political leader of Love. 3, address of applicant, well, number 55, George Street, Port of Spain, telephone number 337-6940, and of course, signed by me, LENNOX Smith, political leader. Yes, people. We are going to, of course, deal with aspects of this request through the Freedom of Information Act to the EBC, and as I said, it is part of a specific strategy to, of course, get the EBC associates abroad aware as to what is happening in the EBC. You notice it is not prudent and would not have been logical for us to talk about the intervention by the Prime Minister and the role of the EBC in acquiring 3 additional electoral districts in the Tobago House of Assembly. That is for a different matter, or to compile with what we will get from here to send, of course, to the agencies and or institutions abroad that would monitor institutions such as the EBC across the globe. What say you? What say you? People, of course, we have come to the end of tonight's program. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. It's 11 minutes past 10 o'clock. I trust that tonight was not just informative, but of course had you in awe. Yes, as individuals, we have a duty and responsibility to protect our democracy from those who clearly have an intention and have demonstrated their willingness and the capacity to subvert our electoral process, which is a fundamental part of the democratic process, and adherence to such principles. In addition to, of course, the rule of law, the separation of power, and indeed the non-interference of independent institutions, as the Rowley administration have demonstrated and is prepared so to do by their utterances and their conduct over the 9 years that they have been, unfortunately, in government because of the very electoral process that brought them into play, but now have decided to subvert it and attempt to stay in office unmeritoriously. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. I'm sure once again that we have tonight brought music to your respective ears. But of course, let's go out with, of course, Shaka Shaka. We will be there wherever, and we will be relentless, and we will not relent. We will not be recalcitrant, but we will be fervent and firm and committed to the democratic processes that carries Trinidad and Tobago up to this time and beyond, and into the future, as our children's children and our future and our development as a nation continues, of course, to evolve. Bye-bye. Don't forget, people, of course, tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mikey, and myself. Don't forget, of course, we are on Gael Caribbean, television from 8 to 10 o'clock. Yes, 2 hours we have now. And of course, we are back here tomorrow night on the Corridor Transformation. Who knows? We may well get a television program as well. Who knows? You never could tell. Having regard, of course, to our tenacity and our devotion to making sure that we promote and we generate the best standards of democracy anywhere in the world that is expected, and of course, where it is practiced.
Shaka, shaka, talk to me. In a happy family, tell me when you're hitting one. Better you hit all and done. Now when I look at South Africa and the pain my race go through, lying smitten by the bogus massa, deep inside I burn. I moan, 'cause I know they hit me too. Shaka, shaka. Sufferers only want to know
where the next food coming from.
This one for all them racists. This one for the racists. Anytime you bounce up a racist and you hear them running them out, it have a whole set of people don't care what they're talking about. A racist is someone living happy and all their family doing well. So race talk is really not for people in the ghetto catching hell. Now tell the racists.
I don't mind we practice the cultures that come from a foreign land, but we have our own thing right here that needs even more attention. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I am talking about calypso, steel pan and limbo dance. Tata drumming is our also. Let's give them their growing chance. We must show all love for the things we own. For their future is our concern. So let me love, and give praise, and believe. For the next generation, there we love.
Lord, light of my people. Too much of one thing, good for nothing. Too much of good thing, never enough. I don't know why my black people cannot see. No party never care about we. Every election we so devoted. How we love up the PNM. As soon as election come and go, is only problem after problem.